All right, so we got planning board, July 18th. We have a quorum. First up is to hear on 110 Nourse Road. We got Zachary Green.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's me.
You're the,
That's my wife Patricia. And yeah, we are the owners of 110 Nourse.
and 110 is the house.
It is lot 4A on the,
Yep.
on the plot there.
Okay, and we're here to look at the landscaping plan.
We don't have a landscaping plan. I think we're here to get some context and see, and we have 2 lines in our permit, and that is about it
Yeah.
for context, so.
Yeah, so we got an email from the abutter
Mhm.
on the driveway, and just said, you know, in real life it looks closer than on paper. So, yeah,
We
exactly.
live in Maynard now. Everything looks a lot more spacious here. It's very nice.
So, all perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
So, this isn't the plan that I saw, the old plan though, is that Erica?
This is everything that was attached to the email that Zach had sent to the town. I printed everything out.
Oh, okay.
So I have made a nice little Microsoft Paint overlay just for reference. But that was that driveway plan was what we submitted with our.
Yeah. So what am I looking at? So this is,
Kind of come up and,
yeah, come on up.
So this is the stuff that I sent.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah, so there's a, you should have like the overall plot plan to give you some context, which is this, yeah, so this is a recorded plot plan. So lot 4 is in the back.
Yep.
North Road runs roughly north-south, and
Yep.
this back area is conservation, the house is
Yep.
going roughly there.
Yep.
And so the other drawing is kind of zoomed in on the curb cut. So on this, so north is toward
Yep.
this way. And so we've got, and so the house is gonna go roughly up here. And so we have a shared driveway area in the front that's about 65 feet deep. I think it's drawn as, might be drawn as 55 on this plan, but the easement that was recorded on about 65 feet. And so then this is the aerial view from Bolton's GIS page, kind of showing what that first 65 feet looks like there. So that line is 65 feet according to the webpage,
Okay.
if everyone's following so far.
and then your driveway will just continue on
Yep.
through it and
Yeah.
swing around up.
Yeah, and I think it's roughly here is where the house is gonna go, if I had to guess, where there's no trees. I think probably
Right in here?
there.
Okay.
And it's sort of, 50 feet or the offset, so probably about there. If everyone's following, sorry, I'm only talking to you, but I think they've got it.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, what are the standard kind of, would it be a shade tree type situation, or are we talking about like pine, you know, plant something pine to kind of block you?
Like I was telling Zach over in his email,
Yeah.
this is sort of unique. This was a requirement that was put into a Backlot Special Permit, so we don't typically see that.
But
So-
like,
What did the permit, I either missed an email or.
I didn't
something,
attach it, I'm sorry.
You know,
I
I
can-
didn't print it, but I can certainly go get it. But it was very generic language
but
about
Just that there needs to be
some
screening.
vegetated buffer, essentially,
Yeah, I
between
think it said-
104
I
and
think
the
it said
neighbors to the left.
vegetated.
what did we end up requiring in the back of Tadmore?
In the back of Tadmore.
Didn't we require some like
Not much, I don't think.
walkage?
There was already.
But there were a couple instances where this came up where we wanted some vegetation.
You just said, well, we did the same thing, we said vegetative buffer.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that, like, you know, the pine, some type of pine. or
Yeah, I
something.
guess the only thing that I had trouble kind of comparing that property with this property is that was a full-blown subdivision, this is a single lot.
Right,
Yeah.
So I think the requirements for that should not be the same for this, I think that'd be really unfair.
Well-
Did anyone take a drive-by at all?
Yeah.
It's actually fairly well vegetated on that driveway
So this-
already.
I have the special permit, if you guys were interested, but, oops, houses, so number 5 there is all there.
Visual
So-
consequence.
Yeah, I can see that.
Now I ruined it.
Now you messed it all up.
Now I ruined it. So, I mean, you know, we had,
At the time that shared driveway application is submitted,
right, and I forgot that, and, that is,
well,
that's on me, we got a little excited with, you know,
Yeah.
our 2-year journey to build a house. So I attached a couple photos of what it looks like now, I'm not sure what it looked like,
Are you
14 years ago.
Sorry, are you taking out any of the trees that are existing there now?
One pine tree had to go in the driveway that already went, but that's like maybe, I don't know, what's your lot, 400 feet deep?
Yeah.
That was near the corner, so that was about 350.
so this is 104, right,
Yes.
right there.
Yep.
And right here is, what's in this area right here?
There's not much that's there, that's about, I think that's probably about.
So I mean, that's the
100
area of concern, basically.
Well, I mean, so that's outside the shared area, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
why
I was
we were.
gonna say, technically, this was only talking about the shared driveway, which is the first 65 feet.
Which is why we were a little,
And that's 104, this isn't 104?
Well, I don't,
No.
but I think the resident wasn't concerned about this, they were concerned about,
and
This
again,
section.
we don't know what it looked like 14 years ago, so that's why we're not sure what's.
I think that,
different now.
I mean, based on the email that I read, is they were just looking out their window and they're like, oh, the driveway's right there. So they wouldn't be talking about here, I don't believe, right?
I saw 2 openings essentially when I drove by today, and you can kind of see it in the aerial, like there looked like there was some opening here,
Yeah,
and then
Yeah.
obviously down here where the 2 houses,
Right.
this new house here and there kind of.
and this is on the plan, like 20 feet from the line, essentially.
Yeah, this is 50 feet across, so.
I mean,
That's 50, so I mean, you know, I mean, the house here is at least another 50.
yeah, so I don't know tree names, but what I'm envisioning is if you put a couple of those pines that cover from ground to,
Some evergreens.
Like
Yeah.
Arborvitae
Or, yeah, I was just gonna say, the arborvitae's they're not pines, but they're screening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
they're cheap and ugly, but they do the job.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you want some big oak or something.
No.
No, that wouldn't give the screening,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Just if you put a few of those, just to, you know, give a little bit of screening.
So what would be the spacing that the board would require, so that he knows how many to purchase?
I mean, I don't know how many,
Wait, what's
how many
that
feet are
distance?
we,
Yeah, I
you
could
know,
scale on that.
roughly,
I could scale on the wood.
you know, it looks
If
like,
this
you
is
know,
50,
about
it's-
100 feet.
That's probably about,
Yeah, I'm just looking at it, it's about 65, and that's, I think what
So
those.
what was the concern of the,
So in the special permit, and it depends on how we want to read it a little bit, but this is 104 here,
yeah,
and as part of the special permit, I guess when they split these lots off, they wanted, you know, some screening.
Presumably there was a butter concern.
Yeah.
So they added that in, saying there'd be screening. And they said shared driveway, but I
Yeah,
assume,
which is only the first 65
Yeah.
feet.
but I assume they
But-
meant this too.
okay, so that's why we were confused, because
Yeah.
the first 65 feet is very grown in, and there's. no-
Actually, when we
Yeah.
did this plan, when we did this, I thought I remember that the shared driveway was gonna continue off this one. I forgot that it split down the
This-
other road. I
Did
thought we were talking
the
about,
board ever review this?
we reviewed, well,
The
we,
Backlot lot was issued back in
This
two
was- yeah.
thousand and five, so
When-
it was a while ago.
so when, well, it definitely came before
It
us.
came before, I know, the Ross property came before you to take it out of chapter land, so I know we talked about some things
Oh, and
then.
it also came before us for Scenic Road.
Okay, yes,
Oh,
that's what it
yes.
was, that's what it was.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
you're
that's,
right.
that's
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
But I know, I thought we talked about this driveway, and I kinda just always assumed that it would continue on from there.
so where, maybe I'm missing, where's the new, is there the new driveway gonna be?
So the house is gonna be roughly there.
But it's just gonna go from here
Yeah.
all the way across? Okay, thank you. That's what I was trying
Actually,
to,
next page here.
The
has
shared
it
driveway
shown
on
on
the
it.
very edge.
yeah,
It's not
Yeah,
right.
see, that's,
There we go.
that's the driveway
gotcha, okay,
and across, and the shared area is only this first.
okay.
you know. But we're
So this,
interpreting the intention there to mean you know, where their house is here, where the 104 is here, we're interpreting it here, and this
So can I
rough
just
area here.
ask, there's a, oh, because it specifically says to 104,
Yeah.
so it would need to shade from this one.
Right,
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Okay.
It's our
So,
future neighbors.
Okay.
I mean, to be neighborly and to kind of go along with the intent of this, you know, I would think, what do they call these?
Arborvitae.
Arborvitae's, you know, every 5 to 10 feet
Well, you
or
just,
so.
I mean,
Something like that.
I
don't know.
always ask my landscape architects, you know, how often they should be planted, because you don't wanna, I mean.
I don't wanna set the thing, just whatever,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know what that is, I
Yeah.
guess that would be my,
Yeah.
does anyone know what the, and it also depends on what size you're buying too. Like how tall they're gonna get
Right.
for how.
So, Zach,
And how tightly you want
Yeah.
them to
Well, I
grow
mean,
to, you know.
right, what I was just gonna.
I don't want anything, so.
What I was gonna say, so that requires a proposed landscape plan that needs to be approved, right? So at this point, this is sort of that preliminary discussion to
Okay,
get to that
okay.
point. So
Okay, so
Zach
then
could
you
do
would-
some research
okay.
on,
Yeah,
now that he knows the
Because
species.
we really thought it was the first 65 feet, which is grown in. And again,
Gotcha.
you know, I had
Yeah.
nothing except what was in that
Um,
permit.
Was this plan, when the application was submitted,
Mm-hmm.
with that number 5, was the actual engineering of the driveway complete at that point? Or was this, the way the shared driveway ended up, was it after the
So
subdivision?
they wanted our lots to share a driveway to prevent disturbance to the scenic, you know, the rock wall.
Yeah.
So it was in the backland permit that, so.
But I'm saying, when that was written, was it thought that the shared driveway would come from this spot instead
No.
of forking down here? No.
The shared driveway was not designed at the point in 2005,
Right.
because I looked through those files. The plan that was submitted for the shared driveway, I think it was 2016.
So what I'm saying is, the wording for this was assuming that the shared driveway was gonna be coming all the way to here, not splitting off down here.
Yeah,
I
correct.
actually have a comment on that. I think there is a plan that the Rosses had that had the proposed locations of both of our houses.
Could you state your name?
Rob Pagani, I'm the neighbor, I live at 112 Nourse Road. I have the shared driveway with.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah,
Gotcha, right.
okay.
So I don't know if he submitted that, but I believe there is a plan that's from when they submitted for the driveway permit in
Yeah, I
2004.
thought, I remember 2000, oh.
They submitted a driveway permit?
Oh, excuse me, well, whenever they submitted it and it had a proposed plan for the driveway to go back to your house.
Okay, well, that was on the septic documents had, and that's part of what, you know, the, plan that I overlaid actually shows
This
the,
one?
in that, yeah, so that's the septic design for Rob and Jenna's house.
Okay.
And it, you know, it also serves as a driveway. plan.
Yeah, it shows this, yeah.
And so I think those septic designs, at least when,
And correct me if I'm wrong, it shows where the driveway would go for you as well.
yeah,
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 it
yeah.
shows, it shows this one that goes all
Yes.
the way.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
so this, you know, this wasn't, this is his septic plan that also served as our driveway plan, but this was, the document I saw was from 2016, I think.
Well, I guess, I mean, if you're saying that there was a plan from 2004, 2005 timeframe that showed a different shared driveway configuration,
I don't think we ever saw that.
well, I'm not sure you ever saw it, but I
Or if
guess,
there is
but if that's what
Yeah.
the plan there is based off of, I mean, I could turn around and say, based on the information we have, the shared driveway only covers the first 65 feet,
Mhm.
unless 104 wants to show us the plan that went along with the special permit.
Yeah, I mean, I
In which case, you guys would be completely off the hook to do anything, so.
I mean, I tried to find.
Well, you see,
anything
this way
associated
you can
with
make us the bad guy, you can go to them and say, the planning board said, based on this plan, the shared driveway is only 65 feet, so you don't need to, no.
this. Yeah, that sounds great.
I mean, I mean, otherwise, we're kind of extending, we may be assuming that was what the intention was, but, I mean,
So, let me just get it,
Yeah.
so this permit was issued in 2004, 2005
Yes.
originally. Do we have drawings from 2004,
There's
2005?
some-
We-
It's your typical backland lot,
So we
plot
have
plan,
these-
A&R
So
plan.
just plot plans.
That's
just
what I have in
show-
my
That's the
file, I
main
can
point.
look,
So
further.
that was the only thing that I could find was recorded.
Where did this come from?
So that was our driveway plan and the septic plan, and I overlaid it with Bolton's GIS.
That
No, that's-
that came way after the fact.
Okay,
That's-
so it came.
Yeah, that was actually from their septic design, and I think that file was copyright 2016 or
So the-
17.
The verbiage of the application, I think, from what I'm hearing, is way before any actual drawings of driveway
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Right.
So the thought, I'm sure when the abutter, when the application was written and the abutter came forward, was that the shared driveway was gonna
Like
come all
these
the way
two,
through.
yeah, so I mean, I would say, since it's not known, it seems like you could have had a shared driveway that went like this and then like this. If it
Yeah, like,
wasn't-
yeah, you could have continued it on from here, or, you know, come
Or just,
further
or
on.
just, yeah,
could
this
come
goes
further up
straight.
and-
It depends how the
Yeah.
easement would have been worded. right?
Yeah.
And so our easement is, this shows about a 50-foot easement, it ended up being a little more, but that's roughly what it is.
When was the easement established?
2017.
Okay, never mind. I was trying to see if there was still.
No, that was part of the
Okay,
purchase and
okay.
sales when, with our lawyers and their lawyers when we
Okay.
bought it.
Are the residents of 104 here?
They
I don't
were,
think so. I
they
don't
were
see John.
unavailable.
I mean, what'd you say?
No, I thought they were coming.
Oh,
So
No,
don't
I
see
had
them,
e-
no.
I had emailed Amy, who's the abutter,
Yeah.
and they were gonna be away, but knowing that there'll likely be a second meeting for the board to actually approve the landscape plan, I'm anticipating hopefully they'll be available and they can come and voice their opinion if needed.
Well, it's based on what we're seeing, I mean, I think that you should,
To be neighborly,
To be
putting some
neighborly,
screening in
yeah.
there would, might, be,
that'd be the neighborly thing to do.
I'm not sure based on what the permit says and what the driveway plan is, that we can necessarily require it.
Well,
Because it says shared driveway, which is the first 65 feet, regardless of whatever they had assumed it was gonna be,
Right
Yeah,
now, the
well,
shared driveway is.
the shared
just this.
driveway, yeah, is only this,
I mean,
So they
clearly-
were kind of trying to prefetch a design, design decisions that didn't materialize.
Right, and I
So-
agree with you, because that decision doesn't even, if they really wanted to hold them to a particular plan that was submitted then, they should have referenced it in that decision, like, this is the driveway plan, this is what you need to do, and they didn't do that, so,
Right, or suitable screening as required,
right.
along the length of the property line, or, they could have, the decision could have been written very differently to kind
Yeah.
of force, any openings here to be screened off.
They wanted us to.
Is, is there a reason besides just cost that you, don't wanna have the screening?
No, I mean, and to be honest, I mean, we would, do landscaping eventually, but being tied to a plan right now, when we're building a house and have a million things going on, I mean, it is something that we certainly intend to do if it's, next summer or whatever, but, I mean, we haven't even poured a foundation yet, and it seems far out in the future to think about how much money will be left over for trees in a year, you know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot going on right now, that's all.
Yep.
And I would recommend if the board members do have time to just take a quick drive-by, because it is pretty significantly vegetated already. There is that opening, but, I think in the dead of the winter, obviously, it'll be more open, but,
Mhm.
it's not bad.
Is this,
I mean, you have, what's the, sorry, I was just saying, what's the distance between the edge of the driveway
20
and?
feet?
So this
The
is
existing wire
about, this is
fence.
about 50 feet wide here. So about 20 feet.
20 feet?
And then
Because the
about another
driveway's
50
shown
over
as-
to the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, cause I'm assuming there's existing vegetation all along here that will.
Well, if you look here, there's definitely
That's
some
what I
trees
mean.
here, there's trees there, but there's definitely, it looks like a gap right in here.
Why, it's green?
That's grass, I think.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't get
Grass
that.
or low growing.
Okay, I
So this
see.
is where the county,
I
this is
see.
the existing, and this is new over here as well, so.
I see, I got you.
So this is,
So,
this,
the neighbors are complaining
Well,
about
and cause it's right
that gap
where
because they
they're,
can see the driveway through there, so.
this is a slightly different angle that I have today from my car, and you can see it's like a pretty well vegetated. There is that opening, but it's pretty well vegetated.
You can all go there, park in Rob's driveway. He's got a nice driveway.
where are we right now?
So I.
Oh, I see,
This is from this driveway?
From
I got it.
North,
This is-
I'm
this
in my
is-
car on Nourse Road.
Yeah, and then you're
Okay.
looking up
Yeah.
where it's gonna go,
Okay.
okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
talking to Peter Ross, when we purchased that house, he mentioned this, and he said the purpose of it was for headlights coming into the driveway. That's why they intentionally, or initially submitted the plan for the vegetative screening. They didn't want headlights coming in the windows.
So
That's
headlights
all.
coming in the window, I mean, that would have been turning on and off Nourse, which is,
Correct. And
which
this
is well vegetated, and I guess arguably coming out of your house and around the corner here, but again, there's a fair amount of screening there already, so.
There's some in the house, like I said, so the driveway will kind of come this way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, would you be willing just to look at this small area and see if there's something? And, but
Yeah,
again, I don't know
again,
if we.
I'm not sure we have any, I'm
No,
not
I
sure we
don't
can
think so.
require anything.
And that's about 100 feet, it's not quite small.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I think our arborvitae's are I think, are maybe like 6 feet apart. Once
It
they
all
get,
depends on the- yeah.
well, I mean, they'll fill out and 6 feet apart is a good distance. But it takes a few years to get there. Whereas if they want instant screening, it's gonna be.
That was just one suggestion.
Yeah, that was just,
I understand.
yeah, I mean, rhododendron, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that,
Mhm.
real landscapers would,
Sure.
would suggest there, but, yeah, but again, I'm not sure, unless there's a plan that shows, the shared driveway, should be coming all the way up almost to the corner here or something, I'm not sure there's any.
I really tried
Zach,
looking at everything.
Can I assume that these trees right here, these are the ones that they're gonna come down?
No, only one came down, and that's a cluster, so it already happened, but, there's 2 trees there, there's, I think, a tree there, a tree there, a tree there, one out of like what would you say, there's 6 trees in that corner?
Yeah.
Or so, one out of 6 or 7 came down.
I don't see a major issue with.
I wouldn't think way back there it would be an issue.
No, what I'm saying is we're turning on, I mean, it looks like you have a
No.
lot of foliage in the front, and then this one little patch right here, I mean, you're
There's-
kinda staring at what's gonna be there already, and it's just gonna kind of be a road.
Yeah, there's
It's-
no,
It's not a,
there's no line of sight from anywhere in the curb
Right.
cut to the house
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now. Because I was there last week taking pictures, for Erica and stuff.
All right, Erica, so what do we need to do moving forward here?
So it sounds like the board's recommending that you do some plantings, even though it's on your driveway and not the shared driveway portion, but something, right? That
yeah, I would
sounds
do
like
a
the-
little due diligence on your behalf, or just the neighborly thing, keeping the peace and
Okay.
what have you, and just put in maybe a few plants and see where.
I mean, what
Line
kind
piece.
of plan would be required?
So essentially what I would suggest is to
Some piece of
literally take
paper,
your,
here's the
yeah.
driveway, here's
Maybe
property
you
line,
could
you're
even
gonna put,
take this
yeah.
plan, take that scenario,
Yeah.
and just show a couple
Yeah.
symbols with whatever you feel is appropriate,
Okay,
with the species, whatever, just something so that, and it can be as simple as this.
Yeah.
okay,
And it can be, a couple red dots or green dots,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to do, and maybe a little note, just what it is.
okay.
And that at least is some documentation.
Yeah, I mean, we are happy to be good neighbors, I just, depending what is required can be quite expensive.
Well, and I think
so-
it's not, I think we're trying to say that
You
it's
don't
not
need any
necessarily
landscaping.
required, but a good faith effort to
Yeah.
put
Okay.
something there, and to document it, to
Yeah,
put
I mean,
down, I
okay.
think would be, but it's flexible, it's open, we're just asking you to maybe,
Okay.
I don't want us,
Do we need it in the
I guess, to
official?
be strict on it.
Right,
Do we need it in the official PDF?
No.
No.
Okay.
So you could just, just
Just
Yeah.
a sketch,
Yeah.
mark up
Just
one
a
of the
sketch.
plans,
Yeah.
and then you
Understand.
can email it to me and
you
I'll.
can draw it by hand on the back of the napkin.
What
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Just a card, a couple circles and,
yeah, and,
Right, with the-
I know this was supposed to go in with the permit application, but I entirely forgot, and we have plenty of time before this driveway will be used, so we'll get it in. I mean, I assume that, with all the construction, planting shouldn't happen.
yeah, you can,
Now, anyway,
you can
so-
wait.
No.
I'm
No,
pretty sure
no,
this will be
that'll
next
be
year,
the
so,
last-
yeah,
yeah.
so, okay.
Yeah, middle of summer isn't usually a good time to plant anything.
It's fall.
Over.
Okay.
So does the board expect, for Zachary to come back, or how do you wanna handle it?
I don't, personally, I don't think he needs to unless there, unless we have an issue with what's proposed.
Just send Erica the
Yeah.
plan. I think it's good enough.
Okay. We'll share them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay,
Like
thank
I
you.
said, vague things from 14 years ago that
Yeah.
we were all trying.
Good luck with your new house.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We're hoping.
Being delivered
I
to
should, that's.
Oh, really?
One day there won't be a house, and then there'll be a house.
It's one of the roads I drive, I live on Bear Hill, so I
Okay.
drive by that a lot.
It's really beautiful, and Rob beat us to building the house. He was the first one, and we all bought the land at the same time, and he won, so.
Good, good.
Thank you
Okay,
again.
great, thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Right.
Okay.
Indeed. Century Mill, so let's see, so we'll be reviewing the bond phases 2 and 4 and the bond release process schedule relating to the work completed in these phases. The board will also review easement language for the terminus at Mill Pond Road and the street light proposed at the intersection of Spectacle Hill and Mill Pond Road, okay. So you decided on a light?
Well, the town had picked a light.
Yeah, we picked it, are you good with
I
it?
went to, find out about it and look at it. I need to, it's, the local distributor is a company called SK, but I have to get a hold of them because their website doesn't have anything on there with relative to pricing or anything. But take care of that.
There's nothing really for us to talk about?
Not a light.
Yeah. The easement, looks like you guys came to an agreement, sounds fine to me. Just got rid of the reasonable, and you got rid of, and it's just up to the planning board,
Right.
so. Sounds fine to me, sounds fine by Kai, sounds like a good plan.
There's a little, do you want to explain a little? You want me-
You can plan.
I guess town council wants to have the Train's Kai's lender assent to the easement,
Okay,
which technically I understand why. You know, for multiple reasons. One, and I'm sure it would never happen, but one would be like if there was a foreclosure and they had not assented, the foreclosure would wipe out the easement, so to speak. But it's kind of overkill, but, so anyway, hopefully Kai's lender is not some national huge lender, because sometimes trying to get anything done is a very, very slow process, even something simple. I know like Bank of America has a system where you call up and you speak to whoever answers the phone, and you don't get to call that person back again, you know, they enter the information into a computer, and you call back, and if the call center and whoever picks up the phone picks it up from there, so that can be a really frustrating process. Eric, hopefully it's not gonna be an issue, but, you know, Erica asked me if it would, if the easement is delayed, is it a problem? Obviously, it's a problem, because, you know, it's a problem. But then Erica also reminded me that, well, the town had said that they would accept the road, Mill Pond Road, excluding that section past Cider Circle. If
Yeah.
worse came to worse.
enforcement to worse, yeah.
So I wanted to make sure we clarify that,
Yeah.
because if the, I mean, I know Kai is ready to sign it, I'm ready to sign it, but if he gets in some
Yeah,
vacuum with a big lender, it may take, you know, a month and a half to get it done, or longer, and then, you know, we have the work starting. We're not gonna, I would say there's no guarantee that we would do that section of road unless there's an easement, just because if it didn't get signed, it would be like money out the window.
So I would say if we get to the point where you're ready to start, or you're ready to advance into that section, let's just keep talking, because at that point, I'll go back to town council and see if it's a necessity. I mean, if it is, then fine, that's the way it's gonna be, but, maybe there's a way we can work around that, because obviously we want that 300 feet to be
No, I'm
accepted,
happy
and
to do
everyone
it.
does.
Yes.
But at the same time, I don't wanna stop this partial road acceptance over something, you know, related to the easement.
So,
Sounds fine.
I was hoping to get the, an unequivocal yes from the board, that if, hopefully it won't happen, but if it's the worst case, and that section past the Cider Circle, that section of Mill Pond Road past Cider Circle, which is probably a few hundred feet long, if the easement's not in place, and the rest of the work is done, you would still go forward
Yeah.
with the acceptance.
I think we talked about that, right?
I don't think that's exactly what Erica said, but I was.
Do we need to have a
I don't think it was
vote?
there.
Or, I mean, what do we need?
Well,
I would like
I
a-
think we're game, I'm fine
I think
with
you
that.
were looking for a vote,
I would
some
like a vote,
confirmation
just
of it, I said it was
because it
success.
involves a lot of money,
Okay,
and, I don't wanna do the work and then have the road not accepted, and then 2 years later or 3 years later, have to do it
so I
again.
guess we're just making a motion of the intent of the board. I mean, it's not an actual action, but just,
Well, so I just wanna be clear. From my understanding, can the town actually accept the road if that turnaround is?
Yes, so we
Okay.
kinda went through this, this was
Yeah,
actually
that's
the
what I'm trying to
plan,
remember.
yeah, there were so many different plans that we
Yeah.
were looking at, and that was sort of the plan before what we've come up with now was all of the other departments signed off that
Yeah.
the terminus from Mill Pond would actually be the end of Cider Circle. So
Okay.
that's why we wouldn't accept that last 300 feet,
Okay.
so that way, you know, emergency
Okay, so there's no
vehicles could
concern
turn around.
with us going forward with this, or making this motion?
Cause at the end
Not
of
from the
Cider
town's
Circle,
perspective,
Okay.
Obviously Kai's not gonna be happy about it, but at the same time, I don't, if this easement doesn't work out in time while you were doing the construction, I still would hope that all of the construction would get completed, even within that 300 feet, because at some point, I think that easement can be worked out, whether it's this town meeting or next town meeting, so I'd want that work completed, does that make sense?
your desire makes sense to me, and I speak English. Yes, I understand what you're saying,
Okay.
but I don't think I would,
But wouldn't it behoove you to finish that last 300 feet no matter what as well, because otherwise you're still on the hook for it at some
Well-
point?
well, I'm on the hook, I would be still, required to do the work, yes. But what I don't wanna do is do the work,
And then have
If
to
it's
redo
not
stuff.
accepted,
Yeah, no, I understand.
and then 3 or 4 years later, somebody says, oh, let's do it now. And then I gotta do it again. I don't
So
wanna-
I'm just,
I don't wanna pay for it twice.
I'm just thinking that, okay, so you do the construction end of summer, early fall. Kai essentially has from now all the way to almost town meeting to get that easement put in place. So there's a significant amount of time to
Yeah.
get that worked
Well, no,
out.
he doesn't, well,
You're not gonna.
He has
do
until he
work.
does the work.
yeah, I gotta get the work done.
So he's saying he won't start the work until the easement is in place?
For
Right.
that area.
For that section.
For that last little bit?
Yep. I mean.
That's why I was kinda saying, why don't, can't we just get the whole thing done? But I understand
My-
your opinion as well.
I mean, if maybe, if I did the work and the town said whether we have the easement or not, we'll take it over.
I mean, Kai has 2 months or so to do it,
Yeah.
probably.
Well, I mean, the road work, I mean, he has until we get started, I guess.
And then how long is the work gonna take you?
I don't think the work is gonna actually take that long.
A week, 2 weeks, a
The
month?
contractor thought, I mean, there's more than one contractor involved, but the main contractor was thinking a week and a half. So, but we're not, if he came to us and said, look, your time slot is August 1st, we're not gonna say to him, gee, we don't have the easement, why don't we wait till September 15th?
So there's the second owner in that
Well,
section.
that's what I was just gonna
Yeah.
bring up too, so.
And they already approved it.
That was
so-
before town council, cause they, I mean, Andy and Fred basically just had them sign it, I think like the day that you generate the language.
But
for
we're
the
living under
easement.
That has to be
We're
decided.
we're living under.
Yeah, and they
wetlands,
signed
right?
it, so, and then I received a signed copy, and at that point, town council hadn't reviewed anything, so with this second, with Kai's property, I had tweaked it, and then I had sent it to town
So
council.
why is town council, I mean, this is an agreement between Andy and Kai.
Yes, but eventually that easement,
It's,
But we're living on, with the same easement too that didn't have any of the added language for the second house.
Yeah, and if
It
that house
depends.
got foreclosed on, then the easement, their portion of the easement could be voided.
no,
That's what town council is
it
saying.
Well, I
depends on the order of the way things
Is that
are.
what he's
that
saying?
That is what he's saying.
Depends on how, if the easement went on before the mortgage,
Right,
it's senior,
right.
yeah,
so you wouldn't even if they.
yeah, so is it recorded
And I
with the
would say
previous
that,
owner or the
my guess is
current
it
owner?
probably did, my guess is it probably did.
I remember there
Because
was
it
some
was the house-
discussion on the order of recording, but I don't really know. I do remember that there was discussion about, the order of recording was a certain way. I didn't know what the order was that they were talking about, but I.
So because town council didn't approve that second house's easement, if it came on the town, we could void it, that's what you're saying.
No,
No.
We could, the mortgage company could.
Mortgage company could.
I mean, it's,
You could not record an easement on your property without having your mortgage holder
Mhm.
also approve it.
Okay.
well, you can.
Well, you can, but if you got foreclosed on, the new buyer could just,
Mhm.
basically just wipe it out that it wasn't part of the.
Okay, I got it. Okay, well, I don't know, should we have a vote that if that falls apart, we'll move forward with the partial road acceptance using, the turnaround at the end of, is it Mill? Cider. As the, so there'd be the two turnarounds, just not the end of Mill.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be the way it is. I just don't, I'm sure getting all that work done and having that portion of the road accepted versus none of it
Yeah,
is,
no, yeah, for sure,
right, so.
I mean, I'm fine with that. I just don't really understand what the vote is, I mean, I guess it's just the intent of the board, but we're not like voting on anything official, right?
You're not voting to accept it, you're
Yeah.
voting
I
to
guess
say
the
that it would
motion-
be acceptable.
I guess after due diligence in getting the easement recorded, if it's not ready when the work
Is ready to begin.
is ready to begin, then the board would support accepting
Well,
the
yes,
balance of
let's-
the roads.
Let's
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
reword this in almost.
Yeah, we're in English here. So,
That, cause I don't wanna tie it to beginning or anything, I mean, I think
Well, I mean,
you're
like,
just
like
asking
Andy
is,
said, if
if,
if they came back and said, we're ready on August first, and,
Yeah.
and it's not done yet, then, if they were, so I'm just,
so if the easement hasn't been established by the time the road is done, we are allowing the road acceptance to include everything up to that easement, is basically what we're saying.
No, it's not the
No.
easement,
No,
it's really, it's up to the edge of Cider
Intersection.
Circle, the
Yeah.
intersection, right?
Yeah,
Because,
I kinda drew it here.
I need my second map.
So this is sort of what it looks like
Yeah.
with the two turnarounds. I mean, it's just you went in.
the
And then that's the, yeah.
the easement is like right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But we wouldn't accept any of that,
Oh,
because there's no
gotcha,
turnaround
gotcha,
up
gotcha,
there.
okay. Are residents okay with that?
Yes.
Yes, okay,
anything to get the bulk of the roads accepted.
okay, all right, then. we-
I'll help
so-
Tyler.
They're throwing each other into the bus to get it
Okay.
done, yeah.
All right, then I will make a motion to allow.
Well, it's not really law,
It's too-
it's just something we would support.
We would support the road acceptance not to include, what's that last little part?
I think it's
Mill.
standard. Oh.
The end of Mill?
The end of Mill Road.
Yeah.
If the
If the
easement.
easement is not able to be obtained in time for the work to be done.
Can you say that one more time, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
We are in
That's what the
support
tape is for.
of a road acceptance that would exclude the last portion of Mill Road, if the easement is not able to be obtained and the road work is not able to be completed.
Is it Mill Pond Road?
Mill Pond
Is
Road?
it, what is it?
Mill Pond Road.
Mill Pond.
Sorry. Is that,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now, working through this. Review the bond for phases 2 and 4 and the bond release process. So I guess that we want to talk about the process. So, town council wasn't in favor of the insurance straight up because that would only cover damage, it wouldn't cover workmanship. It was talked about at Erica's last meeting that, so the alternative, the black and white alternative would be, instead of this, that we reduce the bond up to 70,000 and hold the 70,000 we talked about, which Andy is not in favor of. The other option would be to accept this insurance policy, but hold a lesser amount of the 70,000 to deal with workmanship. And then it was brought up at the Board of Selectmen that, did you talk to Andy about this? That we just could release all the way down. Instead of holding bond, we hold a lot, essentially.
So we do the insurance and hold.
We wouldn't even need the insurance anymore,
Well,
or insurance and.
It was a combination of,
Yeah.
So we could release bond, so get the insurance policy, release bond down to 0, but hold a lot,
yeah, essentially we would need to get to that 10%, that 70,000,
Yeah,
so how.
which would be one lot, I think, right?
Is 70,000 with 1.5 multiplier on it?
No. I think that was.
It is.
So
Oh, it is?
It is?
Okay, so-
Okay,
It is.
okay.
Alright.
Yeah, that's part of the whole thing.
Yeah, just trying to.
Yeah, for those following along at home, the 10% number is in the rules and regs. We're allowed to hold up to 10% of the bond up to road acceptance.
What section is that?
It is the last section that talks about road acceptance. I don't know the number off the top
It's
of
the
my head.
subdivision
but
rules and regs?
It is, yeah,
And it's in the section that talks about road
yeah,
acceptance.
yeah. Like after construction, like it, yeah, I don't know. the
So
exact-
Andy, would you be open to that? Putting one of lot ones?
Yes.
One of the
However-
front spots.
However, I was speaking to someone and they said that, and I think it was, might have been,
Was it me?
might have been you, but I'm not gonna swear to it. And anyway, the selectmen, I was told, had an idea. And that the idea was that I would deed a lot to the town, for security. And typically, that's not how security is given. I mean, just like, I'm assuming you guys all own your houses, or, well, some of you do, own a house. Well, your bank has security and has a mortgage, and they have security, but they don't own your house, they have a mortgage. So deeding would not probably work. But providing the town with security, a security interest in the land, yes, that could work.
How does that?
So it'd be a covenant agreement essentially.
Okay.
Either we would
Yeah.
update the covenant agreement we have now, or it would be a whole new agreement, so.
You're saying because the deed is owned by the bank, not by you?
No, a deed is held by an owner, but if there's a mortgage on the land, it's
Yeah.
like, if you own a house, you have a mortgage on
Yeah.
it, you can't deed the house, it violates the mortgage.
Yeah.
So,
But that doesn't mean you couldn't get a second mortgage and put it on. So in other words, we could give a security interest, but deeding it is not.
I mean, I don't
it's not
know.
nor- It's not.
Whatever the
normal way,
legal
yeah.
terms
It's not
are,
the normal way
I don't know.
to give somebody a security into something, you don't actually,
I would
Yeah,
need Dave Yesway.
yeah, no, I mean, well, you own your car, there's a loan on your car, but
Yeah.
the bank doesn't own the car.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not in there.
The bank holds on to the
Title.
certificate, the title, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but it's, they don't own it, the title's not.
Yeah.
I don't like that deal whatsoever, I'm
no,
sorry.
so
Why?
Andy,
I just, no, it's, I mean,
did you get my follow-up email after you, because I didn't
You don't like
realize.
wood deal.
what, the deeding, the mortgage, I mean, it's pretty cut cut and dry.
Would you own a house?
Yes,
The deed's in your name,
okay,
and you have a loan from a bank?
yes,
Okay, well, the loan secures the bank. They don't have, the deed is not in their name. It's the same as what I'm talking about. The deeding of something for somebody as security
It's just
is
the
not how
town
it's done.
council.
yeah, you're right.
Right?
Erica, can you
Let me
bring
just,
some?
We were gonna have-
since we talked to Andy, so before I talked to Andy, we had talked last week, and you had said there were liens on the property. I assumed you were talking about the fact that you owe back taxes. So I went ahead, I was gonna have a conference call with town council, but he's on vacation this week. So I met with our town administrator and our tax collector to go through this. So based on the conversation I had with them, we thought, okay, this could be a possibility, even though we owe back taxes. We could take on the property if for whatever reason, this agreement, falls apart. We could take the land, we could then, in turn sell it, get the back taxes back, but also get back what we need to do the partial road acceptance, right? So we thought, okay, this could be a potential option for this last 10%. Then I talked to Andy this week, kind of reiterating that to you. That was when you had relayed to me that you also have mortgages on the property,
Yes.
which is a whole other can of worms, right? So then I went back to our tax collector and said, Buck, not only does it have back taxes, but now we're talking about mortgages. And she said, no, that's not gonna be possible, because if it were to fall through, that land were deeded to us, then we're not in a position to be paying a mortgage. I mean, that's just not
Right.
something
No,
that.
no, it's not how it would work. That's not how it would work. I mean, I've been in business a long time, in the real estate business, and you don't have to own something to have something as security. And you can have security even if there is a mortgage. If there's a building that's worth $1 million, somebody has a loan on it for 100, right? There's still 900,000 in equity. People make second mortgages on that equity. It's very common. So,
So I guess the question is, how many lots,
I'm sure town council.
how many lots would we have to have in security to get to the $70,000?
I don't know.
Beyond the mortgage that you owe on it.
Well, that's why,
And the
how much
That's
would
what
we
I'm
need
saying, the
to,
mortgage is
how much
significant.
would we need, how many lots would we need to net 70,000 if you were hit by a bus, before the road acceptance?
I think that's just a function of establishing what the lot is worth and subtracting the debt.
Here's
and
the
this is
thing,
much
I mean,
equity.
just, even if we were to get the land, that doesn't mean we could turn around and sell it tomorrow. I mean, we could potentially be holding on to that land, so I don't know how that plays into, that's why I'm saying, I just think there's too many variables now for that to really, I can certainly follow up with town council next week to get their input, but I'm thinking that that's probably not a viable option.
So our most viable,
Well, for example, the town holds covenants. Like when I built the development, the town has a covenant on the land that they consider to be security. And I had a construction loan on the land. There's no difference. It's still security. But my suggestion was to have a conference call with Erica and town council. And then that she was gonna check with Don Lowe if we could do that. And then that's when she found out town council was on vacation.
So you mentioned earlier about changing the current covenant. Is that now void because of the liens?
I mean, at this point, I think the next step would be, if Andy really wants to explore that option further, would be to have the town council now weigh, because at this point, it's exceeding, I think, our, internal capacity to understand if that's, so I think we would have to reach out to town council next week would be the next step, but, I mean, there's the other options that we were talking about, Andy, in terms of having the insurance policy and then reducing down the cash bond to a certain amount. I mean, that's still on the table, we can still talk about that, or we can also talk about, is there a way to take that insurance policy and expand, you would ask me about this, expand the scope of it?
Yeah.
So it's more than
And
just
then,
damage.
cause I don't even
The
know.
other thing is, when you, may I speak? Yeah, I think we're also getting hung up for some reason on this workmanship idea, because on a regular basis, the practice of the town is that they rely on the town engineer to say, the workmanship was done, it was done right. I mean, when I deal with you throughout the development, and I'm sure you deal with every other developer the same way, the bond reductions take place, not after going through a winter. They take place immediately because the town has an inspector there, and the inspector says,
Well,
the pipe went in the ground right.
that's fine, but, and we still wanna get through the winter.
No,
To
I'm
make
not
sure
saying
it's-
that, but what I'm saying is,
But if we release all the money before the winter, and we just have the insurance policy,
I know.
and there is some workmanship issue, which,
Well, why are you saying that workmanship is an issue?
because it's
Why are
not
you-
covered.
No,
by
but
the
why are
policy.
you saying that workmanship is at issue in this instance, when on a regular basis, you do bond reductions, because the engineer says this was done properly? Why are you
But
making
so
an issue?
road acceptance, which is what the 70,000 is for, is that it makes it through the winter.
No, I understand that, but we're not talking about you actually accepting the road. We're talking about you're acknowledging and taking the town engineer who's sitting right there saying, yep, pavement came in, it was the right temperature, it was the right thickness, and it went down. And if I put in a binder,
Yeah,
if I was putting in a binder coat, I'd come in the next day saying, I want my bond reduced, and you'd say, here you go, here's your money back. Why is it different all of a sudden now? All of a sudden you say, oh no, we can't rely on our
his
engineer.
hands flying up behind
So
you.
I think even beyond the workmanship piece of it, I mean, looking at the insurance policy, one of the basic exclusions is wear and tear.
Exactly.
So if a curb gets banged up plowing over the winter,
Yeah,
and there's no money left in the bond, they're gonna say, well, that's just normal wear and tear with that kind of curbing.
no, they're not. That's damage.
Is it damage?
Yes.
Or is it wear and tear? If you're an insurance company, what are you gonna argue? If you're their adjuster, you're gonna say, well, that's just normal wear
I
and
mean,
tear.
that's been my
And-
concern with the
and-
insurance
and-
policy all
you know,
along.
So,
Damage is damage.
I mean,
I
we
mean,
have to
that's
claim the
damage.
insurance.
Wear and
policy
tear
for
is,
that.
you drive on the road, it's not the same today as it was
Alright.
2 weeks ago.
What do the residents
I mean-
have to say?
Vince LaRosa, I think there's two parts. I see what Andy's saying, maybe I don't understand where the workmanship comes in, because I think the workmanship is agreed upon before the winter happens. So it was either done right or it wasn't, right? So workmanship at that time is agreed upon, right?
Uh-huh.
So workmanship is gone at that point. Now,
Okay,
you're talking about
hold
something.
on, just pause it. So say we release all the money before the winter, because it looked like you did great work, but the road doesn't make it through the winter. I mean, we're not.
That's what the insurance policy is for, so that's not
But
workmanship.
what if, so now what if the insurance policy comes in and says, well, that's not like, damage, that's.
So now you're talking about something different now, so that's what I was.
We're trying to cover that gap.
I know, but what do
the
you,
gap, well,
what
wait
do
a
you?
minute, Andy,
Yeah.
the gap,
Yeah.
the workmanship gap is covered by his contractors. He gets a warranty from his contractors. If they do something that's faulty, it goes back to the contractors. So why can't we
so
provide the warranty?
part of
back?
your contract with the paving company is that it will last for a year? I mean, what, I mean,
You get a warranty.
is there a warranty on that?
Yes.
If the town engineer signs off on that contract from the contractor,
Doesn't void the warranty.
okay.
Doesn't. Got nothing to do with it. My town engineer is not a party to the agreement, it's got nothing to do with it.
Between him and the contractor.
I just, so to answer your one question of why is this happening, we've had multiple instances, not just of you, but of projects throughout town where work was supposed to be inspected by Fred. He was never given appropriate notice, work was done without him necessarily being there, and then they come in front of us trying to ask us for acceptance and he's put in a difficult position.
Well,
So
that's
they're,
not the.
I'm just saying
that's
that there,
not- we would
there
make
is
sure-
that-
That's the exception, right? I'm talking about the normal procedure in the town, right?
it should be
Is
that
if-
he
is if
sees.
the work is done, Fred's there, he tells the board the work was done properly, right? I'm revising the bond, he revises the bond downward because the work is done. The
Yeah, no,
board
I have-
releases the money.
Yeah, I don't
So
have
I
a
don't know
problem
why
with
we're
that.
changing the
What's the
system.
10%?
I don't know why we're changing something that's done. by
Road
ourselves.
acceptance,
Yeah, for road acceptance, right?
70,000,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, what are you asking?
Well, I mean, we're holding something back for road acceptance. It's in the rules and regs.
Well, but he doesn't want us to hold it back, that's what this
If it's
is.
in the rules and regs, then what's,
Well, he needs, he's saying that Andy is saying the insurance policy should cover that 70,000. Town council is saying
It
no.
won't.
So,
Is there a medium that we can,
I mean, we wanna get this done.
yeah,
Yeah,
We do wanna get this done. Unfortunately, this is coming up, here. The reason why this whole thing is coming up is because there was an approved bond amount, and, you're holding the amount for the approved bond amount. But then, this year Fred did a re-inspection, and he wants some additional road, grinded up. And so now the bond that you're holding is less than the 1.5. It's not that far off from what he thinks it's about what the work is gonna cost. You're holding about what the work is gonna cost.
right, but we're not holding what the bylaws say we need to
I
hold
understand.
but,
for proper.
So,
So
so
can I ask a
our
question?
solution to that, right, is to do this. Go do all the work. Okay, the work's all done. Now, there's not what you're holding is a performance bond, right? Work's all done. Okay, you agree the work's all done. Fred agrees the work's all done. Okay, I need the money to pay the subs. You're holding the money, right? Okay, well, now you say, well, we wanna hold 70 grand. Well, the subs aren't gonna come if I say to them, you're not getting paid. So, what is it now that the 70,000 is being held for? It's being held for damage. Well, you're covered by the insurance company for damage. Workmanship, I don't really think the amount of work that we're doing on this road, which is basically top coat, there's much workmanship issues. This is not like we're building a rocket ship. This is, whatever, 2 inches of placement of asphalt on the ground. It's very low risk here. We're not building an entire road. The road has been sitting there and been used for 6 or 7 years.
Part of the reason that, part of the extra cost is that it's because it has been sitting there, but besides that, bottom line, there's the 10% holdback that we have that we're required to do by the bylaws.
I don't know if the required is the right word.
We are requiring it.
Well,
I mean, it's part of the rules and regs,
no,
and that we should be doing it.
what do the rules and regs say?
I
Do
don't
they
know,
say-
I don't have them in front of me, so.
Okay, because I mean, do they say at the board's discretion, they can hold up to 10%? Because if we don't work together a little bit here,
And
things are gonna
we
take
have worked
place.
together with you for years now, so don't try playing that card.
well, so can I
So-
just ask,
I'm not before you for things that happened 5 years ago. I'm only here for this.
but can I, so
Yes.
one of the options is to use the insurance
Yeah.
and to reduce the 70. What, a number hasn't been thrown out, I guess, is there a number that you could let us know that you would feel comfortable with using the insurance and still.
Holding some money.
And holding some.
Because normally you would not have an insurance policy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it is an enhancement.
Yep. What is,
10,000? I mean, there's not that much that goes wrong with the road. This is not like a car that's gonna break down. It's asphalt and curbing. I mean, you have an insurance policy for damage. I don't really, I don't know what you think, really happens to a road. Road's been there for parts of it for 66 years. What's gonna happen to it?
Is that 10,000 a firm number, Andy?
We mean, well, it might go down.
No.
Well, I need the money to pay the subs.
Right, but what's that number? I mean, I think the board would feel comfortable with something greater than that. I think the other option too is going back to the insurance policy and seeing if we can expand upon that scope. So doing that in combination with 10,000 might get
So
us
you're
there,
not
I don't
comfortable
know.
that Fred's there saying it was done right?
It has nothing really
Well-
to do with Fred, it's more that we have to meet our subdivision rules and regs requirement, and town council is recommending that we do that. So I think that's really where the board's at.
Yeah, so I think we made a lot of progress with the insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we did get some agreement there. Would we be opposed to looking at this, because I think we're talking about a couple of different things, workmanship and then a curb.
I mean, it's just in general,
And I-
when the town accepts the road, it needs to be in,
Completely understand,
Yeah.
100%. And I know you have our best interest and the town's best interest in mind. We don't want to get to that point and then we're stuck. So we totally get that, absolutely. But if we got some assurances from the insurance company that, you know, you're saying that's workmanship and, you know, we're saying, can we go back?
I think
and-
that's
and-
what Erica was asking,
Yeah.
is could the insurance policy just be expanded a little bit to be clear that maybe it goes a little bit beyond damages or something?
Yeah, or
Yeah.
let's define what
define it, or
damages
define
are.
it, yeah.
And then
No, yeah.
we're all good, and I mean, we've gotten this far.
well, I mean, I guess the other way to look at it is, in the rules and regs, there's a kind of a checklist of everything that has to be in place for the road to be accepted. And, you know, if the insurance policy is willing to cover that list up to the $70,000, regardless of where, you know,
Well, we're
I
not-
mean, if they wanna come out and inspect the site when Andy is done to make sure that they're happy with
Yeah.
the state at that point, and then any differences are, you know, then we'll address any differences in the spring. If they wanna do that,
I don't know.
again, to make sure that we're covered.
I don't know what you're talking about.
If in that list is workmanship, I think that comes from his contract and not the insurance company.
Personally, I don't care where it comes from, but if it's covered by subcontractor warranty, you know, we would need that, you know, we would need proof of that, I guess. You know, again, it's making sure that, you know, when town meeting goes to vote on it, that we're getting a quality product. So,
What's the procedure when the town paves a road? We'd have somebody there, representing the town, making sure the work gets done. The guy says, yep, it was done right, you pay the contractor. I mean, I don't know how many, what else do you do? When the town does work for itself, you inspect it and say, yep, got done right, and you pay them.
So I'm good with the policy and then just, you know, some number, whether it's 10, 20, I don't know. How would we derive that number? Like, how would be the best way to derive that number, Erica?
Well,
Some lower number.
I think before we conclude that it has to be a number, I mean, there could be an option that maybe the insurance policy could just be expanded a
Well,
little bit.
I'm just
And
taking a
maybe we don't-
parallel route. You know,
Okay.
That would be good, that would probably be best.
Where,
But I'm saying if they don't change it,
yeah,
how do we derive that number? The insurance policy.
I'm thinking, I don't know.
or if we, like you said, just got a list of exactly what, you know, a little bit more comparable,
I mean,
comprehensive list on the insurance
This
policy.
is- this
Covers.
is the
And I
recent,
guess we could look at
Bond,
the
yeah.
bond breakdown
yeah,
to
that's what I'm
see
looking
what
at.
the big ticketed items are, and that may give us some direction on what that number should be.
Trees, binders. Pavement, I mean, that's the big number,
Payment,
yeah,
how much is the payment?
90,000,
How much?
90.
90. But again, it's
Number.
asphalt.
Yeah.
You're saying there's a 10% number, you 10 grand. is
So,
covered in the 90.
no, I mean, the 10% is based on the full bond
I
amount.
understand.
Because it covers not just the pavement, but it would also cover
I
curbing, it
understand.
would
Did you
cover,
talk to-
if we need to flush out the drain, the drain systems, clean out the catch basins.
did you talk to town
Yeah,
council about
and
the
in the
insurance
spring,
policy
does it
plus
need to be redone?
cash?
What's that?
In the spring, does it need to be redone?
Yeah,
What did he say?
Yeah.
If there's a lot of sand used over the winter,
potentially, yeah.
does it need to be redone? re-flushed and
I think I'm almost fine
Clean
with
it
just
again?
getting 10,000.
Like, everybody uses sand on a road.
I mean, we have
What
the
does that
insurance
flush
policy.
them out
What
every
does that
year.
recommend? And like who
No,
makes
but
the
we
call
want-
on the insurance? Do we do it? Does he do it?
I mean,
we don't wanna accept
Was town council okay with the insurance? I know at first it was.
poor quality or,
Well, he wasn't because it
Any
only covered
heavily used
damages,
and
but
heavily
if we
used,
had a
but
combination of
soon after we
surety
take it,
that covered
so
everything, then.
if it's
he'd
supposed to be
fine
flushed
with
out
it.
before we take it in the spring. then
So
it
would the
needs to be done.
subcontractors be able to supply some sort of a warranty, some sort of something
Yeah, I
in
mean,
writing
that's-
stating that?
Oh, you only need the subcontractor from the paving,
Yeah, cause
because
I,
that seems to be the main item.
Andy, I agree with you a lot with, it's in the scope of the work, in the picture, it's not as, you know, as much, 90,000 is really a shot in the bucket compared to what is actually happening in that development, but
I'm saying
it can, would the subcontractors be able to provide some sort of a warranty?
Like a one
yeah,
year,
I
a
will
1 year
get one, and I
warranty.
can have it, you know,
Could we get a
signable to
copy
the
of
town.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I have one in all my contracts, warranty.
I mean, because, I mean, what we're talking about, we're grinding, then we're 2 inches of pavement, I get it, I understand.
But still, the real part of building a road that has to get done properly, that affects the integrity of it,
Yeah, yeah,
is below the pavement.
Yeah,
right,
that's all your
Pavement's
stuff
the
is.
icing on the cake.
right.
If you haven't put your pipes in with the sand and
Right.
compacted properly
Right.
and used the proper material, then you're gonna get a road that sinks. We don't have that worry. The road's been sitting there and hasn't sunk for years. What we're talking about is the pavement.
Right,
It's
top
not,
coat, yeah.
it's not, you know, it's not even the binder, it's just, this is mainly top.
I think I would like to see something, again, a warranty from the
I can get that.
subcontractors, what they're willing for their, because that would cover, I think, the workmanship portion of
that
it,
is-
not exactly the damages, because I can understand a plow, you know, plow whacking the Cape Cod burn and then, you know, taking out, 40 feet of it or whatever, and I think that might be the way to go.
Alright, so at this point, it sounds
I
like,
think we're making progress.
Yeah, no, I-
That was the
So I don't wanna just keep on kicking it down the road, I mean, so if we just,
no, I agree.
yeah, so if we say insurance policy, get that warranty and then like $10,000 or something.
Well, what I was gonna say is, why don't we keep moving forward with all those options?
Yeah.
Andy, why don't you, could you do it quickly, like contact the insurance company to see if they could expand that at all?
It would be. It's-
10,000 seems to be the number, I can
Yeah,
think
if-
about what that
I
would
would say
cover.
if,
I would've, I mean, I would've gone higher than that, but that's, you know.
but if we
We can
can
think
get,
about
I would be
this.
okay with the 10 if we can just get a copy of
warranties.
Cause that's the big ticket.
And then I can
Well,
also ask town council on Monday about the land idea.
And
And then why doesn't the
suggestion
town
on
just?
language might be helpful, so that when I come back, it's like.
Well, what I was gonna say, at
Can we have
this
a
point, do you
contingent
want
vote?
me to just work with town council, and
Yeah.
if we can get to a
Yeah.
point where we agree with you on a surety, then he can move forward, cause otherwise, our next meeting's not till August
Yeah,
15th,
no,
we don't
no,
wanna
no,
wait that long.
yeah, no.
So why don't we just keep
Yep.
working, Andy, to get, it sounds like the board's amenable to all of those
Yeah,
ideas, as long as we can get to that
We're
10%.
getting there, I think we're getting there.
Should we have a
You think we're
vote?
getting there?
Should
order
trees
tonight.
Should we have a vote to give you the right to, make some final?
I don't want the. I don't
Or,
want
I'm
that
just saying, I don't wanna have to
responsibility,
get back, I don't wanna have to wait a month.
You give it to me?
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Well, I think, I don't know if it necessarily needs to be a vote, but we have discussed and we've noted that there are a couple different options we are okay with moving forward. Do you want us to be specific in exactly what those options are?
We've never done that,
No.
well, we
When's
do
next
usually,
meeting?
It's not till the 14th.
Well, I mean, the thing is that if you come up with, if you and town council and Andy come to an agreement, we can always schedule a meeting with,
Can I do
you
that?
know,
Yeah.
Up in
That's very
our
generous.
meeting,
I
where we
mean,
meet for
wanna
literally
get this
10
done.
minutes.
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, we
let's
wanna
do
get
that.
this done, but we also wanna make sure the town is really protected.
Yeah, cause
Yeah,
technically,
that sounds
I
good.
think in the past,
We
boards
need it.
always did a vote on a bond,
So
so.
why don't you two talk and figure out which way works better, between the insurance or if it's getting the
Right.
10 grand and the
Right,
sub
right.
consulting, maybe whichever, and then we can meet real quickly for 10 minutes and do a vote.
Yeah. And it'll just be to vote, it won't be to hash out anything, at that point, we will have an agreement.
Promise?
Yes.
I promise, I promise, I don't wanna keep doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
Sounds
let's
good.
do that.
Alrighty.
Anything else from you guys?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andy.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You still owe money to Fred Hathaway though,
Okay.
okay? Because this was months ago that you talked about giving an additional
I owe you
500.
2,500.
And is it possible to get specific with the subcontractors, what they're gonna be warranting? In fact, you know, general conditions, I don't wanna
Oh, the contract, I mean, the warranty would be
I would-
a tough warranty.
I
I
would-
get that, a tough warranty all the time.
okay, something specific, I think that would help.
All right, we're good.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys, everybody.
Vince, we doing Uxbridge?
Yeah, trying,
Yeah.
getting there.
All right, well, season continues.
Yeah. One more.
What you guys doing that Saturday? Not good?
We played great until the last game. It was 10-9, with the tying run on third base.
Okay. Master plan discussion. So we met with Board of Selectmen. We voted to approve the charter. Is this the amended charter?
I believe so.
Town
Can you read it
finances
and
and
make sure I
taxes.
see
The only
everything?
thing that had to be there was taxes,
Yeah, that was it.
which, yeah.
Yep, yeah,
Is that okay?
Yep, yeah, that was
Okay.
good.
All right, then we'll start to advertise that, and
Yeah.
then, just the only other update, so I've started to make revisions to the matrix. So this is just to give you a flavor of what I plan to do for the committee. And I think this will work well. And then anything that I've highlighted in green are items that we've completed as a town. And then everything else will be, redlined.
So what you plan to do is in what, underlined in red or? Or just current status?
Well, it's a combination, some of the red line is just give current
Comments,
status, but
yeah.
then, like, the ones that are proposed will say proposed, like,
Oh,
proposed
okay.
senior housing bylaw, proposed density bonus inclusionary housing bylaw.
Speaking of senior housing bylaw,
Stay focused.
I just wanna say one thing. It's already, we need to start looking at that in the fall.
Yeah. And then I started to, there'll be additional tables, like there'll be one on the very end of this. I've added one for climate change and resiliency, where we'll reference our hazard mitigation plan, we'll, talk about becoming an MVP community, have do a vulnerability assessment. And then we'll also have one, I forgot to add it in, but a chart for the taxes and town finances, that'll be a whole, separate section as well. So.
Can we discuss a couple of your proposals, just like quickly? I know you need to get out
Oh,
of here.
yeah.
So the density bonus to inclusionary housing bylaw. So what, if we can get more inclusionary housing, we give more density to subdivisions, is that what we're
Yeah,
saying?
we had talked about doing this,
Yeah,
like, back when we had made that revision.
Yeah,
So I added it in there, obviously, these things can get taken out at
Yeah.
any time, I mean, I'm just
So
trying to
instead of-
include everything that we've kind of talked
so
about.
instead of like a 1-to-8 ratio, if we can get a 1-to-6 ratio
Yeah.
or a 1-to-4 ratio, then we allow more.
It would just be, again, an
Yeah.
incentive for them to do more of work, to get the affordable housing built.
But density is,
And
density
that's
is part
actually
of,
building the affordable housing, or is that just making a donation to the Affordable Housing Fund?
It depends on how great I
Yeah,
suppose.
but isn't that kinda, it's also part of phosphorus, so, to get the 1 acre, so if we are allowing a higher density situation, it's not necessarily phosphorus then?
Well, that's what we'd have to,
Yeah.
when we do this,
Yeah,
or when the planning board gets to a point where they wanna look at that,
yeah, right, so
we
it's,
have to figure out those details.
so it'd say something like, if you do this, you get this on top of phosphorus
Yeah,
or
I
something.
mean, at this point, it's more, is this an option we wanna explore?
I like the idea, I do like it,
If it's
yeah.
not, then we take it
Yeah.
off the list and we try to figure
I
out
mean,
another way.
it's essentially sort of like what we did with the cottage overlay.
I mean, right now, that is a strategy that's in our current master plan, and we haven't done a whole lot, if anything.
And we tried to.
So, we've gotta come up with some way to meet that goal.
Senior housing bylaw is awesome, I would love that. ag business bylaw, you know, that's what we talked about, allowing more business, allowing more potential businesses, you know, i.e. cultivate care, yeah. Public water supply, why don't you have proposed house sewer district that you have? Yeah.
Approved wide intersections. Yeah, I live on the wall of the road. Would be good to include that.
What is it? Why?
We're like,
The, you know, like wild, where you get onto Wilder Road from 117, that's a
Yeah.
Y.
Oh,
and,
okay.
You know, you want them at right angles,
Yeah,
not.
that one's a.
I've never seen it written W-Y-E.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you, talk about drainage pipes and everything, and you have a Y connection, it's WYE.
It's good
You're
to
not
know.
in the biz.
It's good to know.
Lisa's not an acronym.
It's good to know for crossword puzzles. My whole point in life is just to gain facts for crossword puzzles, essentially.
I don't ever remember seeing a clue that would have gone to that, but.
Sometimes you might need a WYE, and it's gonna
Yeah.
It's also a good scramble word.
I do the word, what is it, yeah, word charm game
Yeah.
with my kids,
Yeah.
and so we're always doing like weird.
Yeah, I'm always looking for interesting words.
Is there anything about, private water supplies? I mean, I think a lot of the pushback we got on the cottage overlay was around water usage and the impact it would have on surrounding parcels.
Yeah, and that's kind of in here when I talk about a public water supply. I wanna reach out, so as part of updating this, I'm gonna start reaching out to some of the committees, like, what was the committee, was it the Water Resource
Yeah.
Committee? I wanna reach out to them and kinda see what their analysis ended up being, I have
Cause
no idea.
that's gonna kill us anytime we wanna do something
Yeah.
with density, is they're gonna say, oh, it's water, it's gonna drain my well,
Yeah,
so.
that's, yeah, I can, I'll try and get some information on that, and then,
Like, are there any grants through Massachusetts for geological update of, you know, some type of map saying
Yeah,
this section of town has so much water, this section of town doesn't have any water?
Does something like that even exist?
Well,
Like
so
a-
the NRCS soil,
I know this-
the NRCS soil website, which I use all the time for more soils, but they have, I thought, a rough estimate of where.
Like, I've seen
groundwater
maps
is.
with
Well,
aqua,
like
I've seen,
aquifers.
I've seen maps with the
But,
aquifers,
so
yeah.
the aquifer, yeah, but they don't show you the, like, elevation.
Like where the water is,
Yeah.
depth-wise.
Topography, would that be topography?
I mean, you need groundwater, it's big groundwater topography maps,
Yeah.
I don't know where you get groundwater topography
I'm
maps.
not sure,
Unless you're a
and-
consulting
and-
agency that owns them,
I mean,
Yeah, and it gets real, I mean, when I built over on Kettle Hole, our well, 15 gallons a minute, the lot next door could barely get, wasn't even at 2.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
But-
about
but it
100 feet,
also
you know.
depends
on how-
So,
So some
no,
people
well, they
have
were all, you know,
really-
yeah,
yeah.
they went as far as they.
Because you could be in different aquifers.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
but
the thing,
it's
you could
just-
have someone that has a 300-foot deep well and is down here, or you could have someone that has a 30-foot deep well and they're, you
Yeah.
know, getting a different ones.
Do we need a meeting so you can get out of here?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not keeping any longer.
Yeah, no, this is a good start. I guess, and along with your reduced speed limits in town roads, would be enforced speed limits.
They used to be.
alright, so can we get a motion, for the design review board?
I will recuse myself.
I move that we appoint the people listed.
Second.
All in favor for
Michelle,
those people
Danielle,
listed?
Natalie, and David, Petit, to the design review board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Thought you recused yourself, did you
Well, I
recuse
think
yourself? or
I'm
did you
just
abstain?
gonna abstain.
Both of them,
Yeah.
belt and suspender sort of, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another motion for Erica,
Move that we appoint Erica to be our magic representative.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And then meeting minutes, so this is for June 26th. Oops, James is here, okay, so it's just Pete. Looks good to me, and then so we have June 12th and June 26th.
I can make a motion to approve June 26, 2019, and June 12, 2019 meeting minutes.
I'll Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Did you sign these?
Yeah, sure.
So next meeting is when we have, is that when 147 comes back?
Isn't it 18?
So they are gonna be country color.
Nice.
Okay, great.
So that's getting
Right.
scheduled, I think, for next week sometime, and Fred's been notified, they'll work
So
out
he'll be able
that.
to be out there.
I hope so,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, what I'll do is-
What's the 40B that's coming that you sent me for the design review board?
Oh, that's the one on South Bolton Road that
Okay.
the developer came in and he gave
That's what I was, that's what I thought it was, okay.
At this point, I don't have design plans still,
Do we
but
have a motion to,
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.